Well, so the transformation from tool guy and technician and mobile guy into shop owner, and we talked about it.
My life.
I know, right?
Sorry, edit that out.
We talked about it though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And boys, it was woo.
Yeah.
Tell me, why was it woo?
A lot of damn work.
It is.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Nah.
And so we like just had this idea, like, I'm already doing it, man. I'm already doing it. Me and you had that talk, right? Because we talked about. I remember we were talking about the building. And you're like, no, I'm going to go get this giant building. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm like, bro, hold up just a minute.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this for a minute because that's going to be expensive. And by the time you outfit it and you do all those things. Now, you went into the small shop, right?
Yeah.
And you found success in the small shop. And then you moved into a bigger shop. Really nice facility, by the way. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
But you turned into David and I. And we've had some telephone conversations where I'm like, I'm hearing you at the top of your stress meter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Trust me.
Ready to be like, no, I'm done.
This summer was a freaking roller coaster. Usually summers are hitting it. And that was our whole town. Like, cause I'm friends with a lot of shop owners.
Yeah.
And you still get the one shop owners. Oh, we've been so busy. I don't understand how you're not busy. Blah, just trying to make yourself look better. But then you got the other shop owners, and it's like, nah, we've been hitting those same roller coasters and twiddling our thumbs. Like, Ryan Martin. I mean, he's like, yeah, we've been averaging almost 100 a month, and he's like, but not anymore. Like we slowed way down, but everybody in our town's now on the uptick again. So it was just
exactly. And we did the same thing. It was up and down, up and down, up and down, and we got in a good groove here the last couple of months, and we're moving really good, and things are awesome. But that is like for the tech, in a lot of ways, that's a financial roller coaster, right? Especially if they're bonused or paid flat rate. So that's a financial roller coaster, and that's hard on them. But as an owner, boys, like you're because me and you talked at the 4th of July party, and I'm like, dude, I'm really questioning all of this.
Yeah, I mean, because my guys are hourly, and so I did that because I like to know. Because I was a flat rate guy, and I trust me, I love flat rate because I was just really good at flat rate. But I hated the weeks where there was nothing to do and you had crap paycheck. So I like knowing that he's good. Yeah. Well, as good as he can be right now.
Yeah. Relatively speaking.
You brought it up. Let's just go ahead and talk about it. What happened?
We had a pretty bad accident at the shop.
That's scary as all get out, dude.
Trust me, it was.
I have nightmares about something happening to one of my people. Yeah. And I run around in my head sometimes and I'm thinking, what would I do if? What would happen if? And I've got a good friend of mine who owns an energy company. And I've told this story before, but he basically came in at some point and he's like, hey, gotta go. I know I came to pick up my vehicle, but I gotta go. And he's like on the phone and he marches out. And they had somebody that was very, very severely injured, and he had to go talk to the family, and he had to deal with all this stuff. Yep. And I was talking to him about it later, and he's like, this will eventually happen to you. He's like, you own a business, this will eventually happen. And he said, I hope it doesn't. But he said, if you grow your business, this is going to happen. Yeah. Are you prepared?
Trust me, that because I called his wife, like as we got 911 ready, they were talking. I passed the phone off to, it was either my wife or my daughter because they were both standing right there, and let them take over 911 call. And I called his wife and I was like, hey, like there's something bad that really happened. I don't know the extent of it. EMS is on the way. Just try and get here if you can. If not, I'll tell you which hospital they took him to. It was a very scary moment. And luckily just some stuff kind of all played out to where it didn't get as bad as what it could have been.
Yeah.
So like you haven't been in my new shop. You walk in the front door, then it's a long hallway back. There's a kitchen, and then behind the kitchen's the shop. My oldest daughter just happened to be in the kitchen whenever she heard the crash, walked out the shop to see what it was. If she wouldn't have been sitting there, it probably have been 5 or 10 minutes before I walked out the shop.
Even realized something was going on, right?
But he was still breathing, though, under the car, right?
To my knowledge, yeah, because he was able to talk under the car. Okay. But you could hear the duress in his. He was like, "Please get this car off of me!" Like,
he was probably under a lot of stress.
And then
he cracked a rib, right?
Broke 2 ribs.
Yeah, so he's probably.
And then It's weird, and the doctors were trying to explain how it worked because I was at the hospital this morning. But the car hit and pushed sideways on him. It didn't break the ribs where the car hit. It actually broke the ribs on the other side from where the force went over and broke the other ribs. And then he's got popping noises on the left side from where they said most likely cartilage was broken between them. So his rib bones are actually popping back and forth because they're not being held in place.
And so, I mean, the first question is always, well, like, how does something like this happen? And I think as shop owners, it's easy to look at this and say, what did he do wrong, or how did this happen?
Yeah.
And the first response is no. Are you okay? And make sure they're taken care of. Make sure they're going to be okay. And whatever we've got to do, we do have to do a little bit of a analysis.
Yeah.
To determine, like, how did this happen? And it doesn't even matter if they made a mistake or they did something. We talk about complacency all the time. Complacency will get you killed.
Yeah.
I remember we were remember behind my shop when we went and all shot pistols that day?
I didn't like that day. I did not like that day.
And so there were staff girlfriends that came, and they were flagging everybody.
Everybody.
With a pistol.
Yeah, that's why you've seen me just kind of stand back. I was like, I don't need any of this.
I hate to tell you, 9mm. I don't think we could have stood back far enough to avoid it. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That complacency. Is how you hear about somebody getting hurt.
Yep.
And it, like, a pistol's one thing, because complacency with that will get you killed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Firearm safety, number one, right? But when you get into a shop, we're not out handling a pistol 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
In a shop, that's something we do every single day.
I mean, he's done, I couldn't even tell you how many alignments on this system. And so, I mean, kind of my outward analysis afterwards, because then I started kind of looking around after the dust settled and everything. Well, I guess I'll tell everybody because we haven't really explained what happened. My technician was doing alignments. We don't have an alignment rack. We have stands. So you pick the car up on 2 posts, set it down the stands, do the alignment. The front alignment stands popped out while he was under the vehicle. Front of the car fell down, crushed him underneath it. So that's what happened. After EMS was done and they were gone and we just kind of let the dust settle for a minute, I went over the car. The car was in neutral instead of being in park, which that would have helped out a lot. If it was in park, if the brakes failed, whatever, it was a neutral. And then the stands were out to the sides. And so I don't know if because he said he's seen a tire roll a little bit. So I don't know if whenever it rolled, it wasn't perfectly centered under the tires and one stand just slid out, which caused the other one to kick out as well. Mm-hmm. I've got cameras, but I haven't reviewed the footage yet. I'll do that this coming week.
Yeah. I mean, don't let it get recorded over.
I don't think it will. I think it records up to like 30 days and then records over. So
if you double check that, because 30 days is a ton.
Yeah.
30 days, dude. I've got almost 30 terabytes in one system, and I get 4 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you've got 85 cameras.
That's true. But
actually, no, I need to check that because I've probably got more cameras than him.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
So
you got a couple days then.
Yeah. I'll figure it out.
4 days is about the limit of what I get. And man, do
you have cloud access?
No. So it's all like internal. It's got its own computer ran and all that stuff. Backstory of my building is it used to be a security company, so it's got cameras and every single office has 2 cameras. The shop's got like 4 cameras all over the building, but it was mainly due to the security stuff. So,
man, it's so freaky, and I think that's all of our worst nightmares. What was your first thought when you realized something had happened?
Just making sure he was okay. Like literally, that's all I cared about because. You've got kids, both of you do. You can hear in your kid's voice, hey, there's something going on or normal. Her voice changed. Like I could hear her yelling from 20 feet away through walls for me to come out. So as soon as I got out there, I went to one side of the car. All I seen was his feet sticking out and him mumbling. I looked down. Legs were at least still under the car, but they were lower down all the way. So they were still under it. And so I just ran to the other side, hit the button up, And I just told my daughter, hey, just kind of keep a little bit of weight back here because it was going to teeter a little bit. As soon as we got it up just enough to get him out, luckily he was on a creeper.
Yeah.
So I reached underneath there and just pulled him out on the creeper. And then once I got him out away from the car, made sure he's breathing, made sure he's not going to die right then, I went and lowered the car down because I don't need somebody else messing around a car, EMS, trying to get him out, and the car falls on them. So
for sure. And that we talk a lot about unintended consequences, and so you're in that shop setting and you're trying to help him, and like the next move, right? We got to be careful about what decision we make and what we do, because like you said, the car's teetering. Well, and you say that, I think it probably would have been best when we were doing stand alignments. The rack didn't get lowered all the way down.
Well, so the way we don't have super tall stands. Like ours is only, 18 inches, 24 at max. But the laser is on the lower part of the tire. It's not middle. It's on the back. So we have to drop the lift all the way out of the way so that way the laser goes forward.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, because we've been trying every different way because
You couldn't put bigger adapters on the lift arms and pick it up. In other words, you get more clearance.
Maybe, but this is a car, so you can only go but so much.
Yeah. Well, so, you think about that, and you've watched some of the same stuff I have, and you go and you start moving that vehicle. What if it's something way worse? It's like a stab victim. You don't ever pull the knife out. You don't ever, right? You leave that because you don't know what it hit, what it did. And
so with crush victims, if they've been crushed and they've been crushed for a while, you are not supposed to remove them from that scenario until somebody's there because, their body will go septic. And if they're crushed in a certain area, it'll. But, he was sub a minute. So I felt like
he was technically pinned because he was still talking.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not like he couldn't breathe or.
Yeah.
Right. Well, more than that would be my fear of you hit the button on the lift and something shifts and something moves and something happens. And when that's happening, your adrenaline is like pumping.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to think about the best way to go and the best thing to handle that. And like, I still remember when the one fell on me. Right. And I think the after effects of this for him are going to be like he may be able to get underneath a 2-post lift. I think he's going to have a hard time doing that job again in the future. Because I'm going to tell you something. When that truck fell on me, like it was slow motion, right? I remember I'm underneath it and I'm walking out from underneath it, and I remember that arm. Like I can literally see in my head that arm moving on the back of that frame rail. And it's a 12,000-pound truck. And so I remember getting out, and I remember what I did, and I remember where I went. And so when that truck turned and the rear left arm kicked out. And when it kicked out, the truck came up in the air like that. When it came up in the air, the front arm kicked out, and the truck literally went. And it just, dude, it was like slow motion. It was like it wasn't even happening. And the truck is literally over top of me like this. The lift arm, when it kicks out, blows me. It hits me in the chest, right? It hits me in the chest, and I fly backwards, hit the wall. And when I hit the wall, you've been in the old shop, my feet, like my butt slams to the concrete, and I like slide down like this. And I literally, in my mind, watched that truck land on top of my legs, right? And so that truck's turned completely sideways. My legs are out underneath the lift. And when it fell, lift arms up here over top of my head. And when it fell, I've got the toolbox on the right side of my legs and the wheel of the truck opposite. Toolbox on the left side of my legs, and the wheels laying right here on the other side. Like I could not move my legs apart because I was in between it like that. You know what I'm saying? And dude, it took me, and they'll pick something up, and especially if it's a Chevrolet and I'm in that shop, if they've got it too close to that lip on that frame, set it back down. Not doing this. Move it. Right? I'm not playing this game.
Yeah.
Because dude, until you've seen it happen, you don't realize how quick it'll take you out.
And like with him, it was a pretty scary situation, like just in general, because, a car falls. It's a pretty big deal. Mm-hmm. But whenever I pulled him out, and I showed you the picture, but that was after we cleaned him up some. His whole face, just gobs of blood all over his face. Luckily, it was a laceration under his eye and just a nick in his forehead. But, I seen that, and I'm thinking the worst case, like, dang, he just crushed his whole face. And I say luckily it wasn't his face, but you know what I mean? Like, it sucks either way, but it wasn't as bad as, you know, the initial gut reaction whenever I pulled him out. So.
Yeah.
And I mean, some other situations, like my wife just happened to, usually she would have already been gone. So my wife comes in and she'll work for Jarhead she gets in at like 8 and then she leaves at 1 and goes pick kids up. We were getting ready for ASTE. So she just happened to stay late. And so she was going to be there all day long. So she was at because I think it happened right around 2 or 2:30, something like that in that ballpark. And so she just happened to be there. My wife's a paramedic. So she's got a degree for a paramedic. So she just happened to be there. We had a first aid kit to at least start just administering a little bit to his face to kind of clean it up. It was a scary situation. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody whenever you look in their eyes and there's nothing behind the eyes. Mm-hmm. That was him. Like he was out of it.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, dude.
And, you know, the creeper, luckily we kept him on the creeper. The paramedics were glad he was on the creeper because it's like almost like a backboard. Yeah, he's already on a backboard. So whenever we loaded him onto the stretcher, we kept the creeper underneath him, picked him up, and set him on there with the creeper still on there.
Yeah.
So and whenever they picked him up, since it was a crushed victim and all that other stuff, they didn't even go to the local hospital. They took him to the large hospital in Winston, and it was a pretty big ordeal. So,
dude, and you know, the number of shops. I've talked about this with a local shop to me because everything they're doing is to avoid cost, and so they're trying to avoid workman's comp. I'm going to 1099 these employees.
Yeah.
And you know, here's the thing about the 1099. And so many, dude, I've been so surprised how many workers want or how many techs want to be 1099 or they want to be cash. And what's interesting about that is because I've had techs ask that. And usually it's because they've got a judgment against them or they've got child support or something like that and they're trying to play games with it. Man, it's not worth it. No. Because if you're cash or you're 1099, boys, you don't have workman's comp.
Yeah.
And you're responsible for it yourself.
And you know North Carolina law, I mean, technically you only have to have 4 employees before you're required to have it. Mm-hmm. Earlier this year, I didn't have it because for a while it was just me. And I'm not covered under workman's comp, just like owners aren't. But he was with me for a few months and I was like, yeah, we're going to get workman's comp. I'm glad I did. After EMS picked him up, you know, I called my insurance agent and I was like, hey, we just had a major accident at the shop. It's probably going to be pretty expensive. How's workman's comp work? And he was like, you're 100% covered. He's like, every single bill, you're not going to have to pay. There's no deductibles. Yeah. Workman's comp covers everything. So workman's comp's very freaking expensive, but it's not, I mean, this whole ordeal is probably $50,000 or more because
easily.
Wages, the ambulance ride, all of that. I mean, it's an expensive oopsie. And if you don't have the insurance, I mean, you're paying that or you're out of business or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I mean, even if you go out of business one way or another, you're still paying it, right? You're not getting out of that. You will pay that bill.
Yep.
They will come get you. And you definitely won't open another business in your name ever again. I can promise you that. Dude, that's...
And, you know, then you kind of look at other stuff too. Aflac, a month and a half ago, just happened to come stop by the shop. They're like, hey, you guys want, you know, the coverages? And so we elected, he's got short-term disability through Aflac and he's got like an accidental thing through Aflac. So he's getting paid out. He's going to be getting paid out through all that. So it's good to have insurance. Because this would have very, very much sucked. Like my livelihood probably would have been gone. Like I don't even care about my livelihood because, you know, if he died, then I'd be feeling horrible. And I feel bad that he's hurt now. But then you also kind of look at the personal side of it. You've got, you know, because it wouldn't have just affect his family to be affecting mine and everything else if you're not properly covered.
Yeah, for sure. And dude, I'm telling you, when we look at insurance coverages like that, you mentioned something a minute ago. Well, I didn't have workman's comp because I'm just the owner and I wouldn't have been covered. Dude, I elected to cover myself.
Really?
And I have disability on myself. And we don't have Aflac in the shop. It's something I've thought about doing. But, I mean, think about that. And everybody's like, well, I'm just a single owner. It's not that big of a deal. What happens if something happens to you?
Yeah.
right? And then you've got those medical bills and you're trying to take care of yourself and you're trying to do all these things. Well, it costs money. Hey, dude, you could divide what workman's comp is going to cost you per employee for the next however many years.
Oh yeah,
and still not spend what you would have spent.
Just this, yeah, yep, 100%. And now for me, I've got free health care through the VA, so that's kind of why I never really necessarily elected for my stuff, is just because if I get hurt, it's well, you guys are all paying for it. Thank you, everybody. But
you're welcome.
Thank you, man. But so that's why I didn't elect for me. But I do have short term for myself.
I mean, isn't there some type of like protocol that if you're working for somebody else and you get hurt and
no,
but I mean, you lose your income. There's nothing unless you have some type of disability or something.
Yeah. Thank you, Lucas.
I mean, I just want to point out that like. Right, like when we were talking about that other shop, right? We were talking about that we're probably $7,000 or $8,000 a month in total expenses.
Yeah. Oh yeah, trust me. Yeah, I know.
And you can't work.
Yeah. So I mean, I have short-term disability for myself. I didn't elect to put myself under workman's comp though.
Yeah, but I mean that makes sense, right? As long as you've got some form of disability.
Yeah. So. But it's all numbers games. You just got to figure out what that stuff works best for you. But not having any insurance, you're
man, that makes me nervous.
Yeah,
and so the car, the car is minimal compared to the rest of this. Did you talk to the client? What did that conversation?
Yeah, what the car look like?
The car actually doesn't look bad at all, and
doesn't look bad. No damage, or
I haven't picked it up. Like the shop is exactly the way that it was because. Just with everything that was going on and then trying to get ready for ASTE, it was as soon as EMS left, I pulled the car off of the rear stands and kind of readjusted everything, set it down, shut the alignment machine off, and I was like, this is a Monday thing. I'm not messing with it right now. At the moment, I mean, it's kind of white lie. I wasn't in the mindset to have a conversation with a customer, so I just called the customer and said that we had a parts issue and that his car's going to be running late till next week. He's like, that's fine. Just let me know next week. So.
But it didn't like scratch it or do any body damage?
Not that I can tell. So
tires were on it. Should have been fine.
Yeah, tires were on it. The only thing that might have an issue is in the rear because whenever it came off the front stands, the rears rolled forward. Trying to repicture it in my mind, but I think the rear stands might have been set on the bumper of the car. So I'm gonna check all that, but that's a Monday thing. That's not a yesterday thing. So
I still think though, if I were in your shoes, from my experiences, I probably would have called the client and said, "Hey, listen, we've had an accident and somebody was hurt. Your car looks okay."
That would have freaked the customer out. Depending on the customer. I don't know that I would have told them it was a parts issue, but I would have said, "Hey, we ran into a problem with the alignment."
That would have, as long as they know, because here's the thing: you don't want them, you don't want the employee or a family member or somebody posting it on Facebook, and who's
going to know it was their car?
Some whatever
the car with legs sticking out from underneath it.
I'm saying by some weird connection, they find out that it was their car that fell on that person. And they feel like we were not truthful with them. That's the only fear I would have.
Yeah, that was going through my mind, but my mindset yesterday was I don't even want to have a conversation right now.
If there was no damage to the car, I would have taken care of dude, got him to the hospital. I would have looked over that entire car because that would have been eating me up. No, it's going to eat you up, and I'm sorry, but
no, it already is. But I've already said to myself that's going to be a Monday thing.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I would have looked over the entire car. If there was damage to the car, any damage, I would have called the customer and said, "There was an accident. Your car fell on there. There's damage to this and this and this. We'll take care of everything. I just want to let you know, guys. Okay." If there was no damage to the car, no. Hey, you'll have your car back on Monday.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yep, that's kind of.
I'm not describing the sausage and how it was made. Hey, I slit the pig's throat and bled out all over the floor, and chopped its head off, skinned it, took the hooves off. Ooh, how's my pepperoni pizza? Well, I'm describing how I made the pepperoni first. Anyway, took all the bits that didn't come off as good cuts, threw them in a meat grinder, added some spices, and then I dry it out.
I think that in severe situations where
if there was going to be bits of the dude left on the vehicle, then I would have talked to the customer. If there was no way to know that there was anything wrong with that car, that it had almost crushed somebody, I mean, and I think I would have, if it was a long-term customer and I knew the customer well, maybe I would have been more detailed.
Yeah, that would have definitely.
No,
been
this
I knew
this was his first time.
Yeah, first-time customer, like.
Yeah, you got a good point there.
And then, or if it's a customer that I know is like super persnickety about their car, like, hey, that scratch wasn't there till it crushed that guy. What are you talking about?
No, this was the car where I remember I showed you the RO and I was like, this is the one where they just bought the car 2 weeks ago, and this was the RO.
Used car dealers are dirtbags. Used car dealers are dirtbags. I've got a 2011 Explorer sitting up at my shop. The AC compressor didn't just go out; it exploded. The car does not run. You got to take the belt off
to get it to run.
Yeah, to get it to run. That's how bad this compressor was. And so we call the guy. I'm like, hey, we got to do rear AC, front AC, compressor. This thing was catastrophic failure, and they still had the 30-day tag on it. and the used car dealer's like, sorry,
my bad.
Anyway, you're on your own.
That's how used cars dealers roll.
Yep. That is how they roll. And I get calls all the time. They're like, hey, how's so-and-so down the street? And I'm like, listen, they're all horrible. The cars are all junk, and I don't blame the dealer. It's just the nature of their game. I don't know how they sleep at night.
Yeah.
I would spend way too much money fixing that car to then sell it at a loss just to get my money back out of it. I'd go out of business quickly.
I see all the time shop owners, especially guys who are techs, who are starting their first shop, and they get in bed with used car dealers. Now, when I really started working on taking the shop from a dungeon to something decent, I did work with a used car dealer for a little bit, and they were pretty good. They were pretty honest, and they were pretty straightforward. But I'm going to tell you something. If you're working for used car dealers, the way they make that work for them is so when you're fixing their car, you are taking a percentage of their profit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so they have no interest in reducing that profit any more than they absolutely have to. They want to keep as much margin as they can, right? And so they typically don't want to fix it right. But what a lot of them will do is if anything ever goes wrong with that car, you will get slapped, thrown under the bus the very minute something happens, and they'll tell them to come talk to you.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be so careful with that. And like it can be a good way to build a clientele, but you have to have like written agreements. You have to have really solid work orders that document what you did and how you did it.
I've never seen it work.
It worked really well for me. He helped me build a massive...
with that one guy.
Right. He helped me build a massive client base. He helped me get a lot of really great clients. He still refers people to me. He fixed cars right, but he wasn't buying junk cars to begin with. He was buying decent cars, and he was spending the money to get them fixed, and then he was charging a premium for the car. Right. He was not cheap. You could go to the car dealership and buy cars for what he was selling them for, but it was a very niche dealership that was focused on one type of model, and he was really about diesel trucks, and that's what he did. And
that makes sense. That could work.
Right, but otherwise, these little small dealerships that you see on site, you do not work for them.
Yeah, what I had last year, I had one. I'm in really good with the transmission shop, and if I got transmission issues that people want it rebuilt versus having a reman or a new unit, I send all that to him like that. But any repairs he sends to us, and he sent this one guy over, ended up working on his car, and ended up being a used car dealer. I did like 3 cars for him, and he got mad because I wouldn't give him all these deep discounts. I'm like, no, I mean, I still have to make my money.
I don't know why they do that. Do they? They must live in this bubble where they're like,
no, they
surely shop owners can't.
They know what they pay for the parts, and the whole goal is like they know that they are they're the quintessential used car dealer, right? And if you watch movies about them, watch videos about them, like they're known to be extremely aggressive They will push as hard as they can. They don't care if you're happy or not. They want their money, right? Their primary focus is making money out of this deal.
Yep.
And so to them, whatever, man. Like if you're not making money, I don't care. It's not my problem.
Yeah, this guy was like, "Oh, you just cut me a discount. I'll have you all these cars." I was like,
Yep.
"No."
Yeah, you'll be so
Happens
busy.
every single time.
Nope.
Every single time.
And then some other used car dealer, they got my name. I don't even know how they got like my information for our shop, but they've started referring all their clients because they've got an extended warranty. He'll take care of your extended warranty. David's seen some of my stuff with this extended warranty. They don't offer it to the customers. It's automatically on their car. They get this warranty. $70 an hour, max labor. And the parts, they literally Google that part number that you gave, and whatever the cheapest one that they can find online is what they'll give you for your parts.
Yeah.
So like I had to do a water pump and timing chains and stuff on a Ford 3.5. They found the timing chain kit online. It was like $100 for the whole kit or something like that. I quoted all OE stuff. They're like, "Oh no, we're only going to give you $100." I was like, "There ain't no way. There ain't no way."
I'm not doing it for that.
Yeah. So like for that one, the customers get pretty pissed off. But I explain it's like, the warranty that they sold you is not the best. So
I don't even do that. I just say, look, you need to understand that these warranties work very much like health insurance, and they have copays.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this is one with a massive copay.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what I explain. I explain to you, it's not the best one out there. And so my cost, I'll just say to do job A is $1,000, and your warranty is only going to pay out $300 towards this $1,000 repair. You're on the hook for the other $7 if you want us to take care of it.
Yeah.
So
I don't work for them anymore. None.
Really?
At all. And Jade called the other day. She's got an extended warranty. Before she started working for us, she bought a Jeep, and it had an extended warranty on it. And she said, I'm going to, I know we don't do warranties, but I'm going to call and deal with this for myself, right? And so she calls and she goes over everything with them. And, well, we need the parts invoice. And we need your labor guide. We need a screenshot of your labor guide. And we need this and we need that. And we need, where's your W-9 and where's this and where's that? Just trying every way they can to squeeze you and get you to not charge them anything at all.
Yep.
Right. And, man, it is crazy to see some of the things they will say and some of the things they will do. And they are professionals at manipulating service advisors. Into saying or doing something. Yeah. And they try and make the process like you fill out the form online. And so then they call you and they're trying to move you through the process really aggressively and really quickly. And so you don't understand what it is they're doing. They're asking for this. Well, I need this information. Well, I need that information. Well, I need this. All of a sudden you look up and they have gotten information and it'll be like the best example of it is I talked to a shop owner a while back. He's on the phone with a warranty company. And they're like, okay, what's your cost on that? Okay, what's your cost on that? Okay, what's your cost on that? They get done, and the shop owner says, well, you never asked me what I was charging you. And they said, no, he asked what your cost was. He said, no, but I understand. I'm going to mark my parts up. And they said, well, you already gave us a price. I'm sorry, we can't go back. Right? And like really shady, really like.
Yeah, a lot of them that I deal with, they'll be like, what's the cost on it? And I tell them the cost on it is however much I've got it marked up to.
Yeah, exactly. Here's your price, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never had anybody ask me the cost.
Yeah, they're getting to the point now, and I've seen this in a lot of the groups. They're getting to the point now that they are asking for the parts invoice, and
we used to have to send the parts invoice. If you're a Max Care shop, they stopped doing that nonsense. But I used to redact it. I would go in and redact all of the prices, and my account numbers, and I would then send them the invoice, and I say, "Here's your proof of purchase. I did buy every single part that I'm listing on this invoice." Well, we don't have the prices on there. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
I think I had to do that once, but I did the same thing. I was like, you don't need to know how much I'm paying for.
None of your business.
It's
proprietary information.
Yep. Just like him and Mike Allen told me, I didn't even think about looking at WorldPack for factory parts because you can get a deep discount. So most of the time now with extended warranty, I price out OE.
It's not always. It depends on, because if you order through RepairLink, they have like Mars pricing or something like that. You get a pretty good chunk off.
It depends on the part, though.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. If you're doing OES,
yeah,
that's different.
Yeah.
No,
But-
that's different.
But then you also kind of run into the issues where I told you with the GM engine, it's a warranty thing, and GM changed their stuff here recently.
Yeah, this was wild. I didn't know this.
Less than right at 5% markup, not margin, markup between MSRP and what they sell the engines at now. And so like this one that I just did, MSRP was like $3,800, and I think I paid $3,300 for the engine, $3,400 for the engine. There's like no money in the engine at all.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
And there was no, and
there was no remand option besides
Nothing.
OE. Yeah,
even FVP like C&K Auto, because
Yep.
they usually have
No.
everything.
no, this was a 17 Ecotech, or
2.5?
I think I don't remember. I've still got the RO. Like we just closed it out this past week. but
I just bought a.
this one wasn't available anywhere but the
Really?
dealer. Yeah,
There's something weird on it.
maybe. I don't know.
Here's the thing is, and if a consumer goes to the dealership and gets that engine at that price, and they do it, and we talked about this last week with Seth and with that one person who commented, like, dealerships doing repairs super cheap, right?
Yeah.
I just don't see how we can. It doesn't matter.
About trying to compete.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not offering the same product. I'm not offering the same kind of service that they offer. I can't do that.
Yeah.
That's the deal, though, was that, hey, they're doing it to take care of the customer because it's a customer service thing. Like that engine shouldn't have failed. They understand.
Yeah.
Now they're going to cover it. So they're doing it at a deep discount. So yeah, it's not even a competition thing. Like it's warranty deal. It's a Kia and Hyundai engine. It's like,
Yeah.
You get a locked up Kia Hyundai engine. What are you putting a Kia Hyundai engine in it? No.
Yep.
You're sending them down to the dealer and say, hey, the dealer will put one in there for you if you argue enough.
Yep, for sure. And boys, do they push back?
Yeah.
They have been pushing back a lot more. I had this guy, and I don't know. It's like it didn't even register. He calls me. He's in my BNI group. And he's like, hey, I got this 17 or it may have been newer Kia 4-cylinder. Can you get me a remand engine? Put it in. I was like, dude, no. Like there are no remand engines available. You can't get used. They're gone because Kia snatches all of them up to put them in or to
rebuild them.
To rebuild them and put them in. These customers lines of them at the dealership. You have to go back to the dealer. Well, I thought I'd give you a shot. No, there's no shot to be given. Like this is
anybody that would do that, you better watch your butt.
I don't know who in their right mind would even try.
Oh, we've seen some shops do some stuff that you just could not even fathom.
If it were like,
but they
if
are
it was way past 10 years old.
Yeah, so
it was like a 9 or something like that.
They are getting a whole lot stricter now because like whenever I bought my daughter's car, it had a rod knock in it, and they had a lifetime warranty on her car, and so I had an engine put in for free, but they got rid of the lifetime warranty. I have a 16 or 17 Optima engine knock. I called the dealer and they said, do you have oil change records? Call the customer. We don't have any oil change records. Like, and their sticker was like 20,000 miles past due. Whenever the recall first dropped and I was at the dealer, I mean, they didn't care.
Everything.
Everything. It didn't matter if they ever did oil change or not. Yeah. Like we were actually doing engines. Like we do an engine, the customer would drive for 30 or 40,000 without an oil change, then we'd be putting another engine in.
Yeah.
And Kia was just covering it all because they didn't care. But now they care. And so I told this customer, I mean, it's a 17 Optima. It's sitting at my shop right now. That's one of the ones that they abandoned because Kia wasn't going to put an engine in it, and it's almost $10,000 to have an engine put in.
Yeah. Exactly. And
that's if you can get an engine.
You can.
Can you?
Yeah. You can get an engine for almost all of them. They're all in stock now.
Well, my dealer's sketchy.
Anything.
My Kia dealer is the worst. I hate this Kia dealership.
But when's the last time you called? Like recently?
Within the last year.
Okay, because like at the height of like when the recall first dropped for the 2.4s, the 2.0 and the 2.4s, they were on like national back order. But at the time, like we were doing like 20 engines a week, 30 engines a week at just our small dealer. So they were hard to come by then, but now, they keep them in stock.
It's so bad that we get the Kia part number and we put it into the Hyundai dealership's repair link system, and then we order it through to the Hyundai dealership. I don't want to deal with this Kia dealership.
I don't mean
The
to.
worst.
I don't mean to throw shade at owners of those automobiles, but I'm going to.
They're nice cars. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
They're really nice cars.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: is that
And the amount of technology you get for the price.
like, for instance, some of these automobiles that we work on, a couple hours from the dealer, right? So we're in Raleigh right now. I'm 3 hours from Raleigh. You know where I'm at.
Yeah.
An hour and a half to a Kia dealer, right? So you've got some time in this, and then if you have to have it towed, the consumer who drives that car will never have me do warranty things that would be under warranty. And we tell anybody if there's even a shot that something's under warranty, we always tell them like, hey, here's the deal. And we've had like maybe a high pressure fuel pump that we've done.
Yeah.
That would have been under warranty, right?
And I even go over and above. I'll call the dealer with the VIN number and figure out, hey, yep, the car's under warranty.
Yeah, for sure.
You go do it. So
yeah, absolutely. And so we would do that, and we'd spend the time to go through that. The owners of those cars will not have us do the work, right? Absolutely. I respect that. I wouldn't either. But there's other car lines like Audis, that starter motor or motor generator or whatever they call it. Dude, we've done like 5 of those. And Audi's even farther away than Kia and Hyundai, right? Like, and we've done and it is not a cheap job to do.
I don't understand your point.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
wait, the customer was paying for it, or
customer pay at the shop.
That makes sense. Like if you buy a Kia, you sort of buy it because you want everything covered under the warranty.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You don't an Audi. You want to drive an Audi.
That's pretty much the extent of that in it.
Yep.
Yeah. The Kias are nice.
Yeah, they're
So?
fire.
I've not been in one in years. I don't.
They're fire. You know,
literally, they are fire.
Didn't they just have a recall
fire.
on the lines?
The recall for the fire started shortly after the engine recall.
Yeah,
they just rolled out a new fire hazard.
They probably did, but like the
24 million Kias being recalled.
Probably. So the fire
This just dropped.
The original fire one for the GDI engines was
Hey, real quick, hold on. What time is carts?
we need to leave here at 4:45, and we've got a 3 o'clock. Just saying it. We've got time.
Okay. Well, I'm saying the guy we gave away the scholarship to is asking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the original fire recall for the 2024s, technician fault. Yeah. The entire recall that we had to do for all of those was going back and checking over technician error. So that high pressure fuel line from the pump down to the rail is a one-time use.
And they kept They
wouldn't torque it, and then there was also a mounting bracket that was on the side of the block,
and they wouldn't put the tab back on.
They would leave that off, and then they weren't torquing properly. Even though the engine kits came with new lines and everything, they weren't torquing them. Some people
what's
were
so
using
funny about that is that I got my chops busted.
Hey, hold on. 3.4 million vehicles in the U.S. and telling owners to park them outside due to the risk of engine compartment fires. The recalls cover multiple car and SUV models from 2010 to 2019, including the Santa Fe and the Sorento. Documents posted Wednesday by the U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration say the anti-lock brake control module can leak fluid and cause an electrical short that can which can touch off a fire while the vehicles are parked or being driven. So your car might light on fire while being driven.
Yep.
Well, so we're talking about that high pressure fuel pump, and I got my chops busted by a dealership, right? And we did a fuel pump, and they state that the fuel pump went bad. I said, well, it's one of yours. Here's the documentation for it. And the consumer's mad as all get out about me or at me. And I'm like, hey, it's like if you had called me first, I could have helped. I could have sent you to a warranty facility and it would have been covered no matter what. But you didn't call me first. And if you'd have called me first, and I could have talked to Kia and said, hey, look, this is a part that you replaced or that we got from you. And so they charged him to do it. And he's like, why is it so much more expensive from you? And I'm like, can you send me the invoice? It shouldn't be like any different. Oh, boys, they did not replace the line.
Yeah.
And so like the quick connect line, what was originally wrong with the pump is that when the car it came into the shop, it was leaking fuel. And so we went back there and we took it off, and Terry's like, yeah, he's like, the line's loose. But it doesn't make sense because the line looks okay. I don't understand why the line would be leaking fuel. And so we popped the line off, and you can see somebody has at some point smacked the outlet line. And so it's knocked the ridge that the quick connect locks on. It's like mushed it down, right? And they're like, oh, no, that doesn't have to be replaced. I'm like, dude, there is a literal recall because y'all weren't replacing those.
It's in bold letters. Like,
right, it has to be replaced.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is a plastic line?
No,
well, there's
metal.
a plastic line and a metal line, but the metal line
always has to be replaced.
The metal line never gets replaced.
It always for Kia Hyundai.
I know it says that in SI.
It does 100%. And that
we replace a lot of metal lines because they're leaking.
Yeah, that
the
one
little end deforms. That's
because they're one-time use.
It's one-time use, so it mushrooms out to that fuel rail and to that fuel pump. And so whenever you put it into another one, and it let's just say the machining just a tiny bit different, it's not going to make that tight fit.
Yeah.
And so the original recall, whenever that came out, it was put a torque wrench on the upper and lower. If it moves any at all, replace the line. And then if the bracket was missing off the engine, you had to replace the line.
Yeah. It's rowdy because, I mean, like, the fact that they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't at least, I mean.
And that line's not cheap.
No.
That's like my cost. I think the last one I did was almost $100 for just the line.
But I mean, I'm just saying, like,
$100 so you don't die in a car fire? Yeah, that's not that much.
But
not that cheap as like $1,000. Like, no, that's
my question
not
is,
that
if
cheap.
you're a dealer service advisor and you know that damn thing's supposed to be replaced,
yep,
and you wouldn't even put it on the invoice, what in the like? Does that not just
Dude,
like
that happens all the time? You know how you know they weren't replacing those lines is that they didn't stock the stupid line. So you're ordering the high pressure fuel pumps in stock, one available, like one in stock. And then you're like, oh, here's the line that service information says has to be replaced.
Never in stock.
Never, ever, ever in stock. So they have the pump. They don't have the line. They're not replacing lines. So that's how you know.
Yeah, when get a dirty letter from Kia.
when the engine
this
recall,
is not a Kia thing. This is an individual dealership thing.
When the engine recall very first came out, the line was not in the initial recall parts kit.
Yeah.
I'm talking about service information.
No, I know
not reuse the line.
Do not reuse it. That line wasn't, and then they kind of changed it, and then after maybe a month or two, they started adding the line in, and they started adding in because like with the injectors on GDIs, you're supposed to replace the injector O-rings. Like whenever you pull those out, you're supposed to replace them. People weren't replacing the injector because they would just pop them out and just shove them into the new hole.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they would blow combustion gas or fuel back out.
Yep.
What?
So,
yeah.
I mean, you got to think like whenever the recall very, very first dropped, I mean, it was pretty decent. It was like a 9-hour total ticket. At the time, I was doing start to finish putting an engine in like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So it was good money. But then they dropped it from 9 hours. Now they're getting paid like, I think it's sub 6 hours on some of these engines.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's, and we've heard a lot of that warranty times are like hardcore decreasing right now.
Yeah. And
they got to go to a 32-hour work week.
Do you know
the demands from
this right here is why warranty times have decreased is Facebook.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%. Because I'm still in some of like the Kia Hyundai groups, and you'll get these dumbasses, and they'll go in there and they'll be like, "Oh, this new recall, this new part, I'm doing it this and saving all this time." And
oh yeah,
there's Kia's in these groups, Hyundai's in these groups, all these car manufacturers. So you'll get some dumbass that's like, "Oh, I did this a whole lot quicker, and here's how I did it," and then they'll figure out that's a legit thing, and then they'll go in and they'll change the write up on it.
Well, I mean, the dude that just died that worked for Ford and then worked for me.
Yeah,
he made bank doing the door latch recalls on Ford. And I can't remember what the deal was, but this dude would go around bragging about like how he had just absolutely ripped them off and he had just absolutely screwed them. And that, he had found ways to fix part of the latches so he wouldn't even change them. So he had a box full of, he had a box. And I'm like, dude, that's wrong. And this was near the end of his tenure with us. You know what I'm saying? He was on his way out. But it.
Don't let him lie to you. That's how you got hired. He's like, I just keep a whole box of parts I didn't use. Aren't you to replace the whole latch? Yeah, but fixed is fixed. Is it fixed?
That's
I
like,
like you. You're higher.
like way back when the Sedonas and stuff were having the timing chain rattle because of the tensioner failing.
Yeah.
They wanted you to drop the engine to take the front cover off, so it was like a 20-hour job. Techs found out they could do it in the vehicle.
You just got to jack it all the way
and they can,
to the tippy
they
top.
can slide the front cover out.
Yeah.
Somebody was in training and was like, "Oh yeah, I don't pull the engine. I just pull the front cover off." And Kia came right back out and took a 20-hour recall and dropped it to like 6 hours.
It's not easy though.
It's not.
It's still like you try to sneak that cover
it's
back
still
in.
a 6-hour job.
It's not 6 hours. Well, I mean, I guess if you do 50 of them a day, but like you've got to be so careful because you're siliconing that cover, and you nick that silicone, that sucker's going to leak, and then you won't know for a week, and then it comes back. Yeah,
man,
it's still not easy.
Like the steering couplers. You ever done one of those in your shop?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That whenever that recall first came out, it was like over an hour.
We still charge that.
I mean, that's what I charge.
Yeah.
But then they dropped the recall. It was down to like 6 or 7 tenths. But me and another guy in the shop, like, because they realized you didn't have to pull the column completely out of the car. Just drop the column down.
Mm-hmm.
So and once they updated the recall to do that, me and another guy started racing just to see who could get it done the fastest. I could, on an Optima with a keyed ignition, because it was just easier on a key than a push button, I could do it in like sub 10 minutes, like 7 or 8 minutes to do one.
I don't understand. I don't understand the mindset. I don't understand the appeal. I from a manufacturer standpoint, yeah, you want to pay as little as possible, but that's only because you live in a flat rate world. So you want to pay as little as possible to get that. But then the technicians are like, if it takes 20 hours, take your damn 20 hours to do the damn job.
Yeah, but you just said it to yourself, flat rate. So if they could get a 20-hour job done in 10.
Nathan Bryan had a whole post on this. Like,
yeah,
why if you work 40 hours, you want to flag 40 hours or there's something wrong. Why are we trying to push for 50, 60, 70 in a 40-hour work week? I went to this class. It was a good class. Nice guy who put it on. But that dumbass stood up there and he goes, I think a good tech he sounded like that too, and can do 8 to 12 hours or 10 to 12 hours in an 8-hour day. Otherwise, they're a junk tech. That is the dumbest garbage I've ever. You're either padding the ticket up too much. He didn't come up with that. He just regurgitating what some other nonsense, some other dumbass said. I'm just saying, 10 to 12 hours in an 8-hour. I'm burning all the bridges. In 10 to 12 hours build in an 8-hour day means there's something effing wrong with that goddamn ticket. Something effing wrong with that ticket, or that guy's going too fast. Something has to give.
No.
Don't tell me I found this trick where I don't have to pull the whole engine out.
You got to think of it at a dealership, though. It's repetitive. You're doing the exact same jobs day in and day out.
Sense.
And
that makes sense. Yeah.
So you are speeding up because, like with the engines, I mean, the recall's all screwed up anymore now, so I don't really care. I'll say it out loud. Like, I got to the point that it's not a lie. It was about 2 to 2.5 hours from the time I rolled my roll cart to a car, from pulling the engine out back in running, was about 2 to 2.5 hours on average for a Kia Optima. But
a lot of that's experience.
Experience.
A lot of that
is because I knew I had to take out this bolt. I don't have to take out this bolt. I know I have to do this. I know I don't have to do that.
Yeah, but there was a lot of trial and error in that.
Correct.
Okay.
And so that's flat rate has its perks in that aspect whenever you're, especially like trying to beat the time for warranty work and all that sort of stuff.
I don't know. I still at a dealership, fine.
Look, you know
12.
me. I just say my minimum level of acceptable performance is 8 hours a day, right? Do we create? Create's not the right word. When we build a ticket, we know that there is going to be time in that, right? Because we're writing estimates. We've got time in writing estimates. We've got time in all of these other aspects. I'm not saying we should charge for writing estimates. That's not my point. But we have a lot.
I don't know. Hold on. Let's talk about that. Maybe we should be charging Brandon, the other Brandon, my tall Brandon. He's here at ASTE, and he gripes at us for not charging for research time. And
well, that's what I was getting ready to say.
I got to spend.
I do.
20 to 30 minutes. You know who else does? Minkler.
Yeah.
Minkler has a like a technology charge, or I don't even know what the hell he calls it, but I assume, but it's essentially the charge that you would have to pay BMW to look up factory service information. He puts that on every flipping ticket. Now, he buys the yearly pass, he's got that paid off in a month. So the rest of the year, it's just profit for him, but he's putting it on there. And it's not that's how we make more money. It's the normalizing of, hey, I've got to flip and charge you for information access every time you come in, and I've got to do something to your car. I've got to charge you this information access fee. And that makes all the sense in the world, because Brandon, he'll probably listen to this and I'll never hear the end of it. He's right. We should be charging for information, research, something to that effect, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also competing against the shop fix shop down the street that I guarantee you is not charging a service information access. I'm burning all the bridges.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
He is not charging a service information access fee. He's flat rate. It's the cheapest oil that's going in there, and he's pushing his guys. I need 15 hours, and I'm going to pay.
Is none the
and
wiser.
They don't know the difference. I'm sorry, Mr. Customer. My guy researched that line has to be replaced. I'm sorry that the guy down the street isn't putting it on the ticket because it's not available at the dealership, and that means they can't turn this bay that quick. This car's going to have to sit at their shop for 3 or 4 days while they wait for this line to come in, but I'm not letting this car leave without that new line in there. And yeah, it shows up $250 cheaper because they're not installing that line.
Yep.
The way I found that out is through this service access fee that I had to charge you because we did the research on the repair.
Now, I don't do it on everyone, but for my testing, like any of the testing that we do, I break my labor down. It's got like 3 or 4 lines of labor for it. Mm-hmm. Just that way the client's not like, oh, you're charging me $150. What'd you actually do? So it's broken down, and there's a research tab on there. And
I have a research tab. I don't have a fee associated to it. No, I probably should tack it on there. 2/10, 3/10.
Yeah,
I don't know,
like because I have my testing. It's set at like either hour and a half with the inflated labor rate, but then each line has its own labor for it. Yeah. So like there's a duplication line, there's a research line, there's a testing line. So that way each section, the tech's getting paid for each part that he does. I do it so that way the customer sees it, but then also the tech knows, like, look, you're getting paid. Well, he's not. Yeah. He's hourly, so it don't really matter.
But he knows this is contributing to your performance.
Yeah, and so you do it.
Pushback I would get from that shop down the street from me would be that you're going to eat it on the front end and reap the benefits on the back end. In other words, you're going to do the research, eat the research, so the next 3 that come in,
you're paying for your opportunity.
You're paying for the opportunity, yeah. Well,
just like how most dealers get away from not charging diag, they fluff the ticket.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah,
every single time. Like, because any customer pay stuff that we ever did at any of the dealers, it was, oh, you're getting an hour for testing, and then whenever you figured out, okay, you got to replace this purge valve. Instead of charging 3/10 for a purge valve, you had to 1.3, and then they would be like, oh, you're getting free diag, but it's going to cost you this much to have the part put in.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't know what episode it was, maybe episode 25, maybe. Bill Nalu. He didn't say it like that. That's what he was doing. But it was essentially like, we just don't talk about it. The customer's going to pay $500. Now, whether I have it broken down to $350 for R&R plus the part, and then another $150 for diag, or it's just $500. They're going to pay $500 regardless.
Yeah.
So whether I tell them explicitly that that's what we're doing, or hey, there's something wrong with my car. Okay, check engine light. Turns out it's a purge valve, installation. Everything's $500. Okay, how much was the diag? Like, and his argument was like, we just don't talk about it. The customer just getting the car fixed. What difference does it make how I break it down internally? The customer's just getting a fixed car for $500. And Dutch lost his mind. And he's like, what are you talking about?
He's losing his mind right here, right now.
Was it from my comment earlier?
No, it's from that same thread though.
Oh, jeez. Anyway, so he's losing his mind, and he's like, no, we need to be explicit about this. To the customer, it doesn't really matter. The customer's like, they have to pay $500. It's whatever.
It is what it is to fix the car.
Yeah, it is what it is to fix the car.
Until they come back and they're with the warranty or something else messed up. And if you don't have it properly documented.
No. So Nelu runs a tight operation.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
He's documenting every detail of that. He's just not making it explicit to the customer that this is how it's broken down on your invoice. Dutch's argument was, we have to break it down to the customer, and we have to tell them, because otherwise we're never going to we're never moving past this whole they rolled it into the repair BS.
Yep.
Or
the consumer never sees the value in it.
They don't see the value. We're never going to build net value in it because we're not telling them what we're doing. Like, we have to tell them that we're running these tests in order to find the problem, and that comes with a fee. It costs.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we can't get to the solution without the fee,
100%.
without the payment.
Which that's how, like, so, I use Shopware, and then so for my check engine light testing or whatever, each time it's on there, it's auto set up to where I've got like the checklist down at the bottom that you go in, you put in all the stuff. Whenever I quote the repair, I quote it off of the check engine light testing, and so it's kind of all wrapped together. But that fee is always there, and it never leaves and never goes hides anywhere else. So because I've had several. Well, can you not just take care of that? And it's like, absolutely not. I already had to pay somebody to do that work. I'm not going to give it to you for free. So
absolutely, but these are big shops that are running big operations that have multiple bays, lots of techs, and they're the ones that are held to high esteem. Like, they're the ones in the magazines. They're the ones giving the speeches at the fancy conferences. They're also the ones maybe not telling people that they're doing diag, that it's been padded or rolled into the ticket, and that ultimately they're not losing a dime, but they're making money on the whole thing. But whether you know it or not is irrelevant to them.
Yeah.
They are getting paid. The technicians are getting taken care of for the most part, other than when you have to lose your ass in order to learn for the next time. It works if you get 50 cars a day. Because you'll run into the problem again eventually.
Yeah, but then you got shops like, was Cody on your podcast whenever you talked about how the shop
they were just eating it.
Eating it, yeah.
Well, that's a big difference, because they were just generating enough revenue through tires and all this other junk that they could hide the fact that they were losing their asses on his diag. But that's because they were just doing that. That was just bad practice all the way around.
Yeah.
Nelu's not losing a dime on diag. Yep. He's making his money, but the way it's presented, and I'm not saying he's hiding it every single time. It's just, he's just making the argument that, like, what does it matter if we have an explicit discussion or not? Anyway.
Sounds good. I gotta go pee. The other guy's out front here.